Welcome on in. Todd Strain is with us and very pleased to be joined by a man you've heard talk San Diego sports for decades now. You know him as the coach, John Kentera. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for the invite.
So happy to have you in here and excited to get your perspective on this Padres team as a guy who's covered this team for a good long time. What do you think about this club we're watching?
Well, I'm very excited. Where was this in May and June and part of July? They had losing months both in May and June, and they played 500 ball in July, and now all of a sudden the calendar turned August 1st. This team looks like a World Series contender. I mean, they've won 17 out of their last 22.
It kind of feels like 2024 all over again, Todd.
It does. And John, you've been covering this team for decades. I mean, this is why the Major League Baseball season is 162 games. Fans can just kind of chill sometimes because the season is long and there's a lot of give and take in a season.
Well, it's been a very frustrating year and a lot of accord, but, a couple of good weeks of baseball people forget. And this team is playing as well as anybody in baseball, either league right now. And, picking up both Casey Mize, who pitched so well today, and Robbie Ray has not pitched great, but he'll get it going. I mean, these were two great pickups.
Great, happy for Jace. Wasn't in the starting lineup, but he's got a great attitude about it and ended up being one of the players of the game today.
A winning player, right, Coach?
Absolutely. And, he hit that ball the other way today. 3 weeks ago, he wouldn't have hit that. And I'm going to tell you why. He has really shortened his swing. He, a young guy, Darnay and Todd, anytime you come up from the minor leagues, you're always worried if you have a bad game, you're going to get sent back down. But he's made some adjustments. Shortened his swing, staying on top of the baseball, good plate coverage today. And the other guy that's been on fire is Jackson Merrill, and he's made some swing adjustments to where he can get that high fastball. So really, you look at this offensive lineup right now, they've got a lot of things going well. One day it's this guy, the other day it's this guy. We were talking about Xander Bogaerts. Xander Bogaerts not hitting all that well. He hadn't hit a home run since May 30th, and he's got 2 homers here in the last 4 or 5 days. So, things are starting to happen, and that guy in front does a good job, puts a little more pressure on the next guy to do a good job. But they're playing great baseball and playing great defense.
Mm-hmm. Total team win. They're rolling right now. Rengifo, Bowen, Sheets contributing. Not Machado, not Tatis in a huge way. So You mentioned playing great baseball. 17-5 since July 12th or since July 24th. Best record in MLB in that stretch.
Incredible. Yeah. All right, Padres' 9th shutout win of the season came thanks largely to Casey Mize. Prize deadline pickups starting to show what made him one of the most coveted arms that was on the market. 6 shutout on 86 pitches, only 3 strikeouts, but also only 3 hits and 1 walk. Back-to-back quality starts for Mize, who went 6 with 2 earned Monday against the Brewers. One of the things that Stammen said after he had that stinker in his debut, he is a creature of habit, not just day to day, hour to hour, but minute by minute. So having 11 days off, having to relocate, tough for a guy like Casey Mize, but now he's settled into a routine here, Coach, and you're starting to see the results.
Well, I've been following Casey Mize since he was at Auburn because I always followed the Major League draft, and he was 1-1 by Detroit. He had some injuries. It took him a while to kind of get his feet on the ground, but a year ago he was 14-6, made the All-Star team, and now obviously he's motivated. He's going to be a free agent, and really good effort. You brought up a great point. The 11 days, and having worked when I was a college baseball coach, working with pitchers, you're going to throw this day, you're going to do this. Everything is, by the day, by the hour. And I can only imagine, he was supposed to start, and they wiped his start out in Detroit. And so you wonder how much bullpen work he had, if any at all. And then he shows up in Arizona. Next thing you know, they're going, hey, you're pitching tomorrow night. Didn't go well. But, the other thing, his first 2 starts, his breaking ball was not good. His breaking ball was real good today.
Look at the wild card standings now, as well as playoff probability. According to ESPN, Cubs lead the way. Padres, Phillies, dead even. 5 back of Chicago, 1 up on Arizona. Marlins, Cardinals still hanging around. Cubs look like a lock to get in. ESPN likes Phillies' chances. A good jump up from the Padres and D-backs, those two hovering right around 50%. We know Philadelphia has the tiebreaker currently over the Padres. Arizona took 2 of 3 against Philly in their earlier series. They meet once again this year. What do you think of how this is all kind of shaking out right now? And obviously the Padres' chances here in the next month and a half or so.
Well, I think every night people are going to be on pins and needles on the edge of their seat. And I got to compliment the Padre fans, though. I mean, through a lot of the ups and downs this year, every night. I mean, even on Monday nights, they're getting, 42, 43,000 people. And for a kid that grew up in San Diego, and I sat at games where they had 4,500 people on a Friday night, this is pretty amazing.
Not to throw my wife under the bus, but she used to go to games at Jack Murphy and walk up the circle stairs in the 7th inning. You can't do that nowadays. But I look at those wild card standings, and you can book it. It's going to be the Cubs, it's going to be the Padres, and I think it's going to be the Phillies. I think the D-backs will fall out.
Calling it right now.
I think when you see at the end of the year, I think those are the 3 wild card teams.
All right, ahead this week, road trip continues against the Mets, who have suddenly won 9 of their last 12, so shouldn't be a pushover on the road. New York did take 2 of 3 at Petco in June. Day off Thursday. Return home this weekend, hosting the Twins, who are one of 6 teams within 3 games of the American League's final wild card spot. So obviously not an encouraging weekend for them against the Phils. What's it been like? You kind of mentioned the playoff vibe around this team. I mean, once we got back from the All-Star break, they had to win in order to be buyers of the trade deadline. They do that, and now they have to win to kind of stay in the playoff race. They've jumped so many teams. But I think it's just been fun watching high-stakes baseball games during what could kind of be the dog days of the summer. Has not been the case for the Padres.
Well, the one thing about the Padres, even though they've struggled offensively, they've struggled with their starting pitching, they've played good defense all year. I mean, they're one of the best defensive teams in all of baseball. Look at all the metrics, whatever stats you want to look at, they've been fantastic. I mean, Cronenworth had a rough year, starting to swing the bat better, plays good defense. I mean, Bogarts, his range may not be great, plays great defense on the balls he gets to. We know about Manny. First base been a little bit of a revolving door, but Ty France has done a great job offensively. He won a Gold Glove a year ago, and I'll tell you what, he hasn't done anything this year to lose a Gold Glove. And then the outfield, I think, is great. I mean, we know about Fernando, we know about Jackson. Rengifo's getting most of the work
Chase
now.
Bowen today.
And that was another great pickup. I mean, I've always liked Luis Rengifo when he was with the Angels. He had years where he hit 17, 16 home runs. Got off to a slow start there with Milwaukee, was hitting 205. Padres signed him to a minor league deal. He goes down to El Paso for about a handful of days. Up here, been a big shot in the arm. And the catchers, both Freddie Fermin and Luis Camposano, have really added offense. Fermin was hitting 151. Now he's almost up to 200. And that's good, though, because, when you got that many at-bats, and Camposano healthy and swinging the bat, hitting over 300 right now.
All true, and then it also helps just to add talent. When you add the pitchers they did, Ray and then Mize, as we saw today, those guys are just better than if you're throwing Waldron or German Marquez. Like, talent upgrade, you stabilize your rotation, you lengthen your bullpen, you lengthen your starting staff, and you have more talent on your team. That usually translates to wins, and that's what we're seeing the last few weeks.
Gives the clubhouse a lift. Also, when you invest in the team, say, hey, we believe in you. Now do your part in the next couple months, and they are on their way towards doing just that. Great to be talking ball with Coach Kentera, and so much more enjoyable to talk about this team than it was May into June. Did you ever think we were watching them struggle to score runs, we'd be looking at one of the best offenses in baseball in the second half?
No, especially when I was looking at the stats every morning before a podcast. I'm going, you got to be kidding me. We're hitting 217 as a team. We're last behind, some of the worst teams in baseball, and now slowly, moving up. But bottom line, I just want to know what they're doing in August, and they're swinging the heck out of the bat right now.
We'll show you exactly what they have been doing since the All-Star break, putting up some of the best numbers in baseball, tops in batting average, second in OPS, the 3rd best strikeout rate in all of baseball. They are 5th in terms of runs and 6th in terms of home runs as well. I don't know, credit to Steven Souza Jr., I guess, or is it just the stars looking like stars again? Like, what do you attribute this seemingly sudden and dramatic turnaround to?
I think just work in the process. I mean, Steven Souza Jr., I think he's an easy target. Well, any hitting coach in San Diego, really in baseball, it's the toughest job. And I'm going to tell you why, because these guys get to the ballpark 11:30 at 12 for a game that's starting at 6:40, okay? They're staying afterwards, looking at scouting reports. They're working their tail off. The Padres have Steven Souza Jr., they got 2 assistants. They also have a hitting instructor. I don't know how they break things up, but more than anything else, I mean, once you step in the batter's box, it's one-on-one with that pitcher, okay? You can't worry about your hands, your stride, where your elbow is. I mean, you got to watch that ball and get a good pitch to hit. As long as you can get a good pitch to hit, you're going to have a chance. And a lot of times that best pitch is the first one, because every pitching coach in America is telling their guys, hey, we want to throw that ball down and away, get ahead strike one, because the percentages for a pitcher when he got strike one go way up on getting that guy out.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Coach, Bud Black was in here last week, as you know, and he said one of the things he notices is guys like Tatis and Merrill aren't pressing at the plate. They're not chasing balls. They're hitting pitches in the zone. They're hitting pitches where they can handle, and they've handled for years. Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, I think, Todd, the biggest thing I've seen with Merrill is he's getting to that high fastball better. They were throwing high fastballs, and they were throwing sliders down and in. Throwing a slider down and into a left-hander can be very dangerous because the way they swing. Why do left-handers always, their swings always look better?
They look beautiful. Same with the golfers.
Yeah, but the bottom line, I think he's made a swing adjustment, and I think Fernando, he just became a good, solid hitter. Now the power's starting to come, and he may end up with 20 home runs.
Yeah. It's like once he got his confidence back, that seemed to lead to the power, and he's looked more like the Fernando we're accustomed to seeing.
Hey, Darnay, this show is much more upbeat the last few weeks than it was a few months ago. That's for sure.
You had Greg Garcia in here a while back, right?
Say that again?
Greg Garcia was in here a few weeks ago. Yeah, his grandfather, who managed the Cleveland Indians and the Angels, okay, and he was a very good friend of mine. And I remember Dave he managed Jim Ray Hart and Willie McCovey. He had all these guys in the minor leagues with the Giants. And I said to him, and he had he was the hitting coach, pitching coach. He was everything in those days. I go, Dave, what did you tell your hitters? He goes, Johnny, he always called me Johnny. He said, don't ever let a good fastball hit the catcher's glove. And I think that's a big thing. You got to hit that fastball, and if you miss it, that may be the only one you get at that at bat.
All right, let's talk about the manager, Craig Stammen, because you mentioned hitting coach always under scrutiny, managers always under scrutiny as well. And he said going into the season there's going to be some growing pains. Certainly, you just trusted the relationships that he obviously cultivated as a player might pay off now in this new role. I'm curious your thoughts on what he's done to this point, because I think there are points in the year where it maybe looked a bit shaky, but do you give him some credit for the way that they're playing now and the way they've kind of managed to endure some of those peaks and valleys?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think he's done an outstanding job. I mean, we can sit here and first guess, second guess. Everybody's going to, second guess the manager. I kind of second guessed him earlier in the week when they had that extra inning game against Milwaukee. I thought in the bottom of the 10th, Bogarts, even though he doesn't bunt very often, I thought he should have laid down a bunt. They ended up winning the game in 11, but they had to score 2 innings in the bottom, or 2 runs in the bottom of the inning to win the ball game. I think he's done a really good job. I think any real problems, I think, have probably been behind closed doors. I think as far as managing the game itself, I think he's done a really good job. And we can always sit here, oh, he should have done this or he should have done that, or why were they stealing there, or why did they bring this guy in, why did they bring Wandy in early or Yuki in early. That's what baseball is such a great game, okay? Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's aunt has swung the bat at the Easter picnic, and they know something about the ball game. But I think Craig has done a good job. I mean, probably the biggest critical area I have is if he's going to get ejected, man, you got to get your money's worth. He's a little bit too nice with these umpires. You got to, you don't have to rake them up and down, but you got to make it look a little bit better for the fans out there. We don't have Billy Martin and Earl Weaver any longer, or Lou Piniella.
No, Craig's not that guy.
No, he's not going to throw any bases, but maybe kick a little dirt, right?
The thing that I would say, when I was on radio, Craig was a guest of mine a lot.
Yeah.
He is an unbelievable human being, great man, great husband, great family man, and he's doing a heck of a job, I think. But I also think he's been surrounded by some good people. Randy Knorr's a quality baseball coach, been around. We know about Ruben Niebla. I'm glad his wife Stephanie's doing well. She's a lovely lady. And Bob Henley, the third base coach. I mean, they got a really good staff. And so he can, and also they hire Buddy Black. And Buddy Black's a great sounding board, for anybody. Guy managed 18 years in the big leagues.
He's got some pretty good ball players that are looking like pretty good ball players again. That always makes a manager's life a little bit easier. Well, we are headed to the pub next. You want to join us, Coach?
Absolutely.
Got some hot takes coming.
Hey, I watch every week.
No one ever turns down an invitation to the pub.
You're watching Sports Night in San Diego.
All right, always a good night when you're in the pub with Coach.
Love
Can't
it.
beat this.
I feel like I've been here before with Coach.
Yeah, I think we probably have a
If you
time
know,
or two
you know,
before.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe around December. So, went to our friends on Padres Twitter and said, "Give us your hot takes. We will discuss." Got a few good ones from Ryan. A wild card series will be played this year at Petco Park. Of course, it was at Wrigley. You like the Padres' chances of maybe surpassing the Cubs and hosting?
I take my shot with the Padres playing at Petco Park. I can tell you that. I don't want to have to go back and play in front of those lunatics at Wrigley Field. I don't know if you've ever been to Wrigley. I've been to Wrigley, and it can get a little bit wild and crazy. And, of course, Pete Crow Armstrong, who I actually saw play quite a bit in high school. He played,
Really?
he played at Harvard Westlake, and I saw him playing a lot of the showcase games, when he was coming up. He was like a famous kid when he was in 10th grade up in LA. And, he's having really an MVP type year. Whether or not he wins it or not, we don't know. But I think the Cubs helped themselves a little bit at the trading deadline with a relief pitch. They got Zephyr John from the Angels. But I'll take the Padres' chances against anybody right now. They're playing really, really good baseball.
Padre positivity, whatever you want to say. I dig it. Hosting a wild card is a bit much. I think they're going to be on the road.
So you're not going to.
Unfortunately, I would love to go to Petco.
You're not going to like this one from Jeff. Padres D-backs at the end of this season, final regular season series to determine the National League West. Dodgers are sliding.
Oh.
Will it be D-backs, Padres, end of the regular season for the division? Forget the wild card.
I think it's going to be tough. Dodgers are playing bad baseball. Anybody watch their game today, man, they just not looking good. But, they're going to Colorado. They may get well in a hurry. But that final series could be very, very big. And the other thing you got to remember, that series, not only is it going to be big, but whoever wins 2 out of 3 gets the tiebreaker as well.
That's a bit much. I think you're
not that Padres positive.
I think that's a bridge too far. I think that's a bit much. The end of the
guys,
season.
we're at the pub.
The problem also is
We
the
just want to
Dodgers-
get in the dance.
Exactly.
All right, last one. You get in the dance. Is Casey Mize your game 1 starter?
I think that's yet to be determined. I think Michael King might be the game 1 starter.
I go Michael King. When Michael King is right, he is very hard to hit for many of the best offenses.
I'm glad we don't have to make this decision tomorrow morning.
Unfortunately, it's closing time, guys. We got to leave the pub. Joe Musgrove trending towards his return, and maybe they'll bring more talent from El Paso. We'll see, and we'll discuss coming up next. No pressure, Ethan Salas. That's what we're going to expect when you finally debut for the Padres. And maybe there's some chatter, Coach. Does it happen this September? He has trended very, very well for El Paso, the 20-year-old catcher, since he got called up, hitting .377, 1151 OPS, 3 bombs, one of which came today, going the opposite way, 10 extra base hits, 7 strikeouts. He's been phenomenal, but good enough for a September call-up? That worth the risk?
Well, they can start the clock on him if they'd like, towards free agency. I don't know. I think they need to bring up at least one arm and maybe a guy that can, steal bases. But, I was watching the game today when he hit that opposite field home run. I'm a big Salas fan. I've been praying for the last couple of years the Padres wouldn't trade him. And, he's starting to fill out a little bit. He's a good catch and throw guy. I think he's going to hit. Last year he had the back problems, missed pretty much the entire year. They sent him to the Arizona Fall League. They had to shut him down. He's come back. He's been healthy and really put up good numbers in AA and earned this promotion to AAA.
You mentioned starting the clock. Well, A.J. Preller's not afraid to start the clock early. We saw that with Tatis. Everybody said leave him down there. He brought him up. That was, of course, at the beginning of the season. Salas has improved immensely at the plate this season. He has made huge strides. Padres' catching situation has stabilized a little bit, so I'd be a little surprised if they call him up. But organizationally, I don't think there'd be any fear if they think he's ready to bring him up and throw him in the pressure cooker and start his clock.
Well, the problem, though, you have, you're putting him in the pressure cooker, that's for sure. But you got to bring a guy up that can play right now. Yeah. And I think even if you brought up a guy that could run to be a pinch runner, in the old days, you used to be able to bring up anybody on your 40-man roster. Now you can only bring 2 guys up. You go from 26 to 28, and one of those guys will definitely be an arm.
I agree with you. I think they're potentially more valuable pieces to bring up. It would be intriguing if he was one of those.
Well, I think he's got a good shot to make this ball club next year, though.
Yeah. No doubt about that. We know of one guy who is definitely headed our way, just so long as that arm continues to feel good. That is Joe Musgrove, who had his 3rd rehab start on Friday for El Paso, through 70 pitches, struck out 5, hit 97 with his heater. said last Monday this is the best he's felt since Tommy John in October 2024. Thought he may need one additional rehab start, but he's trending towards his return. And when we spoke to him on Monday, clearly energized, feeling this good this far in the process. And Coach, how much would the addition of Joe Musgrove energize and bolster this rotation?
Well, there are a variety of things you got to look at on this. Number one, how deep can you go into the ball games? How's breaking ball? Obviously 97. When Joe was pitching really well, he threw 95.
Yeah.
And he worked a lot of times, 92, 93, but he's always relied a lot on that slider. I'm sure he's had to make some adjustments. I know, it's taken a while. And he pitched the other night. His numbers weren't good, but he came out of it, and you always want to know how a guy is the next day. Yeah. Is he healthy? And he's healthy. He's going to make, I think, one more. And I think if you look at the schedule, okay, they got Minnesota coming in this coming weekend. I think after that they got Pittsburgh. I think they'd probably like to maybe have Joe pitch, make his debut against his old team, but at Petco Park rather than making a start on the road.
Coach, if Joe comes back after missing nearly 2 years without pitching, and he comes back from the surgery, an arm injury to his pitching arm, and contributes down the stretch, that would be historically amazing in baseball for someone at his age to come back after that long off and make an impact in the pennant race.
Well, Joe's a good guy, okay? I mean, he's a hard-working guy, and I know this being out of the lineup and the rotation for almost 2 years now has been eating him up. And, he doesn't want to feel like he's stealing money here in San Diego. And you hear people, oh, well, when's Musgrove going to get back? Well, it's not like the guy's sitting around eating bonbons, okay?
If
the guy's
wants
working.
To be contributing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he traveled with the team all last year. He didn't need to do that. He could have stayed here, but he wants to be a part of the ball club.
Yeah. I mean, he almost sounded emotional on Monday, talking about how difficult it was, how hopeless he felt at points. And he went into this year feeling like he could help carry the rotation. Now I think he just wants to chip in to this rotation, help out hopefully into a deep October playoff run. And nobody would relish that opportunity more than Joe Musgrove. Something that we've gotten used to once again is seeing the Chargers in San Diego, at least during training camp. They visited USD for the second straight season. And crazy enough, they're going into their 10th season in Los Angeles, so about a decade since obviously the day that San Diego fans, the heartbreak that they're still feeling a decade later. What have you thought of just the way this thing has kind of played out and sort of the full circle nature with a guy with San Diego ties and Jim Harbaugh bringing the team back?
They actually called a few games when Jim was at USD when he had Josh Johnson as quarterback. I remember covering the Chargers when Jim was a quarterback with the Chargers. I think it's nice that they come down here. I think for young kids, I know my alma mater, Torrey Pines, they took their entire team down there because Craig Willihan's their offensive coordinator. He set it up, and the kids got to go see him. I remember as a kid, the Chargers trained in Escondido. And my brother took me over there, and I was so excited. And they called off practice that afternoon, and I was very young. I started getting all upset and crying a little bit because I didn't get to see my Chargers. But I think this is great that they still come back. More so for the kids that want to be around, love football. I think if you're a Charger fan, you're a Charger fan. If you're bewildered because they left, I'm a little bit in that camp probably. I mean, I love the Chargers. We live for Sundays in this town, and I'm still pretty distraught that they left.
So how do you process their seasons?
I enjoy watching Herbert. I think Jim Harbaugh is a fantastic coach. I mean, it's hard to root against them. If they put it this way, when they lose, I don't get nearly as upset as I did when I was a youngster or when I was covering them.
John, you mentioned kids. You see a lot of kids out there. I was out there for their practice, one of their 2 practices. The fans that were out there were a lot of fans, but they were young. A lot of kids in their teens, a lot of 20-year-old fans, not a lot of older fans that maybe had a heartfelt connection to the San Diego Chargers, the Superchargers. It was kind of maybe the kids that grew up in San Diego and were kids when the team left that were out there, or in their teens that are now 20-year-olds.
So they didn't experience this. I mean, the painful memories that this will certainly stir up from, again, just about a decade ago when the news was cemented that the San Diego Chargers were headed to Los Angeles. What emotions does this stir up in you, Coach?
Frustration. I think more than anything else. And, I think I had a real good relationship with Dean Spanos. I think Dean ultimately is the one that decided to move them. But there are a lot of people. I mean, there's things the city could have done. I mean, they went through multiple mayors, and there were a lot of people, I think, with egg on their face. Ultimately, Dean Spanos and his family are the ones that take the heat. But this could have been worked out in some way, shape, or form. But I think he finally got tired of it and just said, we're going to L.A.
Sports teams are privately owned, but that's just part of it. Sports teams are also a public trust. They're part of the community. And so even though they're owned by individuals, they belong to the community, and that team belonged to San Diego.
Absolutely.
It belonged to the city. So for people who have hard, hateful feelings, I get it. Yeah. Understand it. Yeah. Rightfully so.
Well said.
A lot of good nights, though. We enjoyed Charger football.
More Sports Night after the break. Fantastic having you on with us this week.
Thanks for having me.
Great hearing your thoughts on all things Padres, certainly, San Diego sports. Where can we hear you during the week? We know you're still a very busy man.
I do a podcast 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I do it at 9 o'clock and do it for about an hour. Yeah. We have a good time with it. A lot of Padre people like to still hear what I have to say, so we do it. It's more of a hobby now than anything else.
YouTube, San Diego Sports?
Yeah, it's on YouTube, and just type in John Kentera or John Kentera Show, and it'll pop up.
Old school voice of San Diego, new school media. I like it.
Yeah, trying to stay current.
Speaking of current, look, we talked about how things were in San Diego. You've seen this transition over the course of the last decade. How you feel about where this city is, the San Diego sports scene, the Padres, you talked about the fan base, MLS, the soccer scene, and how this thing has kind of grown and developed over the course of the last decade?
Well, I think things are going well. I would like to get a new sports arena so we could maybe, I don't know if we'll ever get an NBA team back, but I'd like to get an NHL team. And, I don't know in my lifetime we'll get an NBA or an NFL team back, but I'd certainly like to get NFL football back here in some way, shape, or form.
The sports arena would be great. I think an NBA or an NHL team is a long shot, as you know, but maybe some events, maybe some basketball tournaments that we see that are floating around now, all the big, neutral site events, that would be great. Also great if you like music, concerts, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Plus, we got to keep our sports venues updated. Otherwise, what happens? Teams leave town.
That's right.
Don't think we have to worry about that. As far as the Padres go, we get to enjoy the electricity, hopefully well into October, and might finally meet those new owners this week. So that'll be something to watch for in the weekend. I'm sure you'll be talking about that, Coach. Thanks so much.
Looking forward to it.
News is next. Have a great night.